usually I start with a 4-shot or a 3-shot. You see the fellas, but this is a special occasion because y'all know we've been running this RSG Tourney Challenge. We've been out here, you know, trying to hold down. And the way our Tourney Challenge works is that we have 3 prizes we give out, and if the RSG talent takes all 3 prizes, y'all just going to wait till next year. Well, this year was like Survivor. It was like who was ever the last person standing because there was so much red on everyone's brackets. We got one that's standing. And see what we did last year. We gave the belt, and we're gonna give out another belt this year. And so I got to bring in the RSG Tourney Challenge, champion to the page because we all said somehow my setup is kind of crazy over here, but we'll get it right. Sandra Wilson, who was the winner. How you doing, Sandra?
Hey, I'm doing well, doing well.
The Tourney Challenge. Now I got to tell you, so y'all say Wilson, you're like, well, this is my sister. Now this is how she came into the tournament. She came in the tournament telling me she coming for the belt. That's how
Yes,
she came into it. And she came and got the belt. Congratulations. You said you already got a spot for it. You already got the outfit for the picture for next year.
yes,
I want to
yes,
shout out to Bob O'Brada, last year's winner who started the trend with wearing the belt. So you said you already got the outfit for the belt, huh?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I'm
So
ready
tell
for it.
me, tell me a little bit about your approach because you was the last one standing, and like, what's your overall thoughts of the tournament? How you approach putting your brackets together, and then obviously you were one of the few people to hold on to UConn almost to the end. That helped you, but how did you approach the brackets this year? Because you a sports fanatic, so how did you approach
Well, when I look at the brackets, I actually I was kind of rushing.
it?
I knew automatically it was going to be some upsets, so I was trying to figure out who my upsets were going to be. And typically, how I look at it is like 1 through 5 seeds. You kind of expect them to win. Um, and then anything beyond that, 6 and down, is fair game because then that's when you kind of bring in your top mid majors and things of that nature, that typically will upset like a Creighton or
Mhm.
a Marquette, things of that nature. So that's kind of how I looked at it. There's a couple teams I knew I probably should have picked, like Arkansas. Like I know Arkansas is good, but I was giving Illinois. I was trying to get a Big Ten some love because I really wasn't counting on some of the other Big Ten teams to win. Michigan State kind of held it down, but I wasn't looking for the other ones to kind of make it through. So that's kind of how my approach was when I was
Mm.
looking at the first and second round. The first and second round was kind of upsetting,
Yeah.
coming out the gate, but that was pretty much my approach.
Yeah, I think you got like 22 of the first 32 right, coming out. I mean, that was pretty. That was a high number for this year when I looked at the rest of the brackets. And so, yeah, you were hitting some. You hit someone. You got hit like all of us by some of the can't trusted teams like Arizona. We all, and the
Yeah,
thing about it, I watched them up close and personal, and I knew. And we talked about on the show. I should have, and I messed around and tried to believe in them again. Never happened again. It's gonna be about 10 years before I look at Arizona again.
and then some of them you look at like I know that Xavier has a strong team. They have that culture, that history. I experienced going to their gym, watching the game, watching Chris play.
Mm-hmm.
But I was giving the hometown Kennesaw State, a little air. I thought maybe that would be an upset, but so there was some that I knew I probably could have picked. So I could have had a few more green. Them in Arkansas, and I would have had a
So
few
you so
more
you
green.
say you got the outfit already laid out for the picture and everything else because that's the promotional piece for next year. We always remind people that we do give these belts out. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you say you already got everything picked out and the spot picked out for it.
just like I told you, I said I was coming for the bill. I said I'm getting my pose together.
Now,
And I told you that before I even picked my bracket.
and I want the people to know this because a little bit of insight into with my sister and I. She was my person when I was trying to work on moves in the house, had the thing up. That was defender. Had to set the screens to the park. So she grew up, around sports and talk. We always had played. So I knew. I said I knew. As soon as you said you was coming in, I was like, we in trouble. I know you're gonna be figuring this thing out. My other part of my crew, as soon as we bring them in, they struggled on me, left me at the altar by myself with that. One of the benefits of having you on, because I mean, even though our tournament next year, I'm going to be looking to do a one for the women's tournament. And I work with the vendor to make sure we got some brackets for that. So I was wanting to do it this year, but it's obvious that the women's game has grown. And the reason why I think it's great having you here, obviously, Chanel Nell's been on our show talking about some of her stuff she's been doing in music, student athlete. So the RSG folks have gotten a chance to see her, but this is Mama right here. But you've had a chance. The reason why I actually got to more into watching this is obviously with her playing, but also with the insight I've gained from you because of where she played high school and middle school. Like Atlanta area is a hotbed, so you had a chance to go to tournaments and places to see a lot of these women that we're seeing play today. You saw some of these kids when they were in seventh and eighth grade and has watched the game grow. What is it for you as someone who's been watching and following this? What has it meant to kind of watch where it's come to right now?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Because like when I took, I actually took Chanel to, try it at a rec league. I think
Mm-hmm.
she was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And um, we paid registration and everything. And then she was all excited to play. And they came back and had to give our registration back because they said they didn't have enough girls to make a league. And that was prior to the Atlanta Dream starting. I think the Atlanta Dream started around 2007. And so seeing where it is now, and watching it evolve, watching her play AAU from fourth grade on up, and seeing, like, we grew up that, AAU and travel, any travel sport, you're going to travel, you're going to go from state to state, regardless. But Georgia has so much talent and so much basketball that um, parents, the max they really had to drive was 2 hours, unless we went to Tennessee or Alabama. We
Mm-hmm.
really didn't have to go far for talent or play good basketball. Um, the organization she started off with had 30 teams within themselves from second grade on up to 17U. Um, and so now, who she used to play for when she graduated from high school, they now have, he has teams, from the West Coast to the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and tons of teams within the state of Georgia. So just seeing from where we didn't have enough girls to play, to create a league or a little rec league, now, you have, your choice to play in and to grow and to develop. I just love it. I love watching where I can see young women. I'm like, I can see her potential. Um, and watching them grow, not just my child, but watching some of these other young ladies grow. Um, it's just, it's just remarkable. I really love it. I need it to grow more. We need to see more NBA teams so that the kids don't have to feel like they have to go overseas. Like, there's a lot of strong talent overseas,
Mm-hmm.
that we need to be seeing here in the US. But we don't have enough teams, or the players aren't rotating out enough. So it's not enough spots for the players to rotate in and play WNBA. Um, so they get drafted, but only the top 10, unless they change it, are guaranteed a spot on the roster. So, and the remaining have to go fight for a spot.
And one, I think early on, I think I told you this. So my niece was, I think, well, I don't know if she was in seventh or eighth grade because she was playing up when they came up to play in that tournament in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I drive down, not knowing what I'm about to walk into. I put this in the chat because I drive down, I walk in, and it's like this tournament is like at like three different locations and it's packed. You got Cheryl Swoops in there. You looking down like, and I'm walking in this environment and the way what was happening, how they're playing. And I remember walking around and I'm going crazy, and I run into Marcus Game Changer, who's down there as I bring in Darnell and Carl, and I walk. I see Game Changer down there because his daughter down there playing. I'm like, man, this game is different.
Yeah.
And you could see it coming right there, and just like the number of teams, the number of sites they were having, and just the volume. and the level of coaches who were there kind of watching the talent, you could see it coming, and then seeing some of those athletes who are now, playing in the tournament today. One of them, who we at least had a chance to see in high school, and I didn't recognize it until she knocked down like her 4-3. I was like, "Is this somebody I know?" Jasmine, Carson. I only knew her as Jazz. I probably didn't even know her last name. You've had the opportunity because she played on McEachern with Chanel. They had a powerhouse program. Like, you watch Jazz develop and try to find herself, and they head coach don't play. And now for you, like, to see her do what she did on Sunday, like, for people who don't understand even Jazz's journey, like, talk a little bit about that.
Well, from what I know, Jazz came on the team shooting threes. That was
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
That was her highlight. Her dribble drive.
yeah,
That was her highlight, and that's what she came in to do. So, her doing this at a bigger stage was not surprising, but it was just great that she had that opportunity
mm,
to showcase what she really does.
mm,
None of her shots bobbled; they were straight net. So it just kind of explain it shows like this is what she does. It was just timing for her.
yeah,
Sometimes shooters do have a dead period, and that's
yeah,
what people have to realize. So people were like, oh, she didn't shoot anything in the last 2 or 3 games before. Yeah, but sometimes shooters have a drought, and
yeah,
then she came alive at the time that they needed it.
yeah,
you know and so, and then she went on to Georgia Tech and went on to West. Then she transferred to West Virginia. Sometimes, people don't understand this process, and just finding that right fit and that coach that's going to believe in you, that's going to pour into you. Sometimes just find that right fit is not easy to do. You might think it is, and then you get there and you see it's a totally different experience. But I'm just glad that she got to LSU and Kim Mulkey believed in her and gave her that opportunity. And when her number was called, she, when it was most needed, she showed up, and she did that for McEachern because Chanel had tore her. She came when Chanel was just
that's right.
coming. She came, and then Chanel came back mid-season,
That's right.
and then played 8 games, and then retore her knee again. So, but they needed that.
Yeah.
Jazz was able to bring that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
right. That's right. She did come in that
mhm,
space, and we were remiss without saying something quickly about, Chanel. Like you said, found her spouse. She found it out of Bethune cooking. I've been telling these guys, and she's been cooking, and she was recognized. They pulled together what the All American list for for historically black colleges, and kind of found a home coming from Indiana, moving over there. I know that was quite a journey for you. We've had her on the show talking about her music. But I know you as a proud mama. That's good to see her find a home for herself.
yes, 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 and
Well,
just finding love back to basketball.
yeah, that's it. That's it. So we know we're gonna get her back on here soon. I got my two compadres coming on, Darnell and my man Hammer coming in the building. We here with the champ. I finished fourth. Hammer, where'd you finish?
Man, I didn't even look, man. Why lie? Even
I
look.
saw it. You was way up the rear like Sergeant York, like Fred G. Sanford would
Man,
say.
hey, well, yeah, bad year, but hey, I've shown in the past that I can bring it, so don't worry about that. So
Hey,
everybody has a
we got
bad
to give you a
game,
year off because
everybody
you held
bad
us
year.
down a couple years ago. I'm gonna give you that.
Precisely,
And, Dar-
precisely, precisely.
and
I'm gonna
Darnell,
come with
where'd
a
you
new, I'm
finish?
gonna come with a new strategy too. So yeah.
Darnell, where'd you finish? Don't make me pull it up. I got it right here. I got the notes.
I gotta pull it up. I don't know. I
I'll
knew I
find
wasn't
it.
winning, so
I want to see who
I.
let me down because I finished fourth. I was trying. I was trying. Oh no, Darnell, you finished
Oh,
sixth,
he
tied for
didn't do
sixth.
bad. Yeah, he was 6.
You tried to come back and help me out. The, the,
Well,
the
see,
rest of the crew
yeah,
The rest of the
yeah.
crew was like in the witness protection program, Mo, Autumn. But I do want to thank our second and third place. I'm gonna call. I don't know if they're the Mendez brothers, the Mendez family. We got Frank Mendez and Ricky Mendez. They'll be getting a gift certificate we got here from Target as part of it. So they finished second and third. So we'll be reaching out to them, and I came in on fourth as well. And before we get into the Cipher, and all of us, and Sandra's going to stay with us for that conversation as we get a little deeper into the women's tournament conversation and some of the things we saw over the weekend. I just want to bring in Darnell, you and Hammer, just kind of again in kind of that overall view of the game. We've talked about the women's game over the past few years. It's been a topic. Darnell, probably want to bring you in and just kind of your overall impressions of, I would say both tournaments, since we're talking about both tournaments, what you saw in the men's tournament, some of the things, I can't trust the people, verify why you can't trust them. We know
Yeah,
that.
I was at the scene of the crime for one of the can't trust the teams. I came out to Arizona, but the thing is, with Arizona, everybody know that they can't trust it. Even Arizona people in Tucson know that they can't trust Arizona. So it wasn't no sweat off their back. So that's how that kind of went. But to me, the most interesting thing was the women's tournament. The women's tournament was way more exciting to me, especially at the close, the Final Four, that kind of thing. The women's tournament really turned it up. But I think the men's tournament, we definitely did have some exciting moments, especially with Marquise Noel of Kansas State. He had a great run. Dominant, he was out there looking like Isaiah Thomas for for some of those rounds. But going back to the women's tournament, man, you had Caitlin Clark putting on a show, looking like some people call her Stephanie Curry because she was pulling from anywhere. Soon she has in the gym range. As soon as she steps in the gym, she is in range, and she took down a great South Carolina team that was 36-0, I believe, 36-0 on the season. So that just goes to show how great they were. But man, they met their match in that national championship game. LSU, they came out firing from the 3-point line, and you wasn't lying about Jasmine Carson. I mean, you're talking about none of them wobbled in. Man, some of those shots the net didn't move. Did that even hit the net? It was looking fake. Like some of those shots was looking fake. Like it was going straight in. Like I'm like, man, she can shoot. But you also had Morris getting it done on both ends, almost like a
Yes.
Drew Morris type. Like Caitlin Clark, she was doing the thing especially in the first quarter. She had like 14 in the first quarter, but in the second half, and anywhere Caitlin Clark was going, Morris was right there. She was her shadow. She even drew a couple offensive fouls. She had to push off because she wasn't getting no separation. And on the other end, Morris was hitting that mid-range shot, and she closed the show. So always, I got to take my hat off to LSU for a job well done. But yeah, it was a fun tournament to say the least.
Yeah, it is, and I will say on the men's side, UConn, I think they're going to be a staple for a while in the game. Hurley can coach. He got there. You could tell somebody got something. He's in the right spot in that game, and I had a chance to watch Dutch in the San Diego State out in Maui. I mean, he's a great coach. Those kids come and play. They'll be there. He'll just have to figure out when he brings the team, he's got to get more offense. I think Trammell could have done more. I think he could have been more aggressive. I've seen him really get after it, but they just didn't. They didn't have it. So it's gonna be interesting to see some of those teams come back next year. The Zags. I think Hammer. I don't know if it was Hammer or somebody who put them on the can't trust it list. Mark
Yeah, I
Few.
put him on the
Even
campus
though
list. Yeah,
yeah,
I did.
even though it's
Yeah.
down year, it was like Timmy did more talking than winning. So I mean, he won, but when it mattered, and he had a great game in the game they got closed out on. But
Yeah.
they're gonna have to figure out something.
No, they just ran into a better team. I can't do that. I don't know if that was a can't trust the performance. I just think they just ran into a team that was way better than them.
When you got
On both levels.
you got Timmy cooking, he got to cook, he got to finish. Why you just coming back from the NIL money?
He's
What you doing?
but
Yeah.
Timmy was cooking, but it was really just Timmy. On the other side, you had Jordan.
Yeah, Julian Strother was awful. Yeah, he was terrible.
Yeah, you
he
gotta
was
do
awful.
something. You gotta win. We can't keep giving you excuses now. You gotta win.
No
Hammer,
excuse.
your
They can't
overall
trust
view.
it. Overall
Your
view,
overall view of the
obviously
tournaments.
the men's tournament was worse than the ladies. The men had too much parity, and I learned that from getting whooped in the tournament challenge. But deciding things like Lamar Butler's shot was amazing. The Philly Dickinson, upset Purdue. But the bottom line is the women really put stuff on the map with LSU, Kim Mulkey. I remember growing up with Kim Mulkey when she was at
Yep.
Louisiana Tech. I used to watch. That was the peak early '80s ball. Obviously Darnell wasn't here yet, But early 80s, it was amazing as far as Louisiana Tech and seeing Kim Mulkey come back to her home state and do her thing is great. Caitlin Clark obviously, was tremendous, but a lot of the mess that led to the incident, it was justified. But seeing South Carolina go down too was unbelievable. So because I was pulling for Don Staley, I was pulling my sisters in coaching. So yeah, I really think that the ladies tournament is much better, and the men's tournament really had too much period was lacking, especially the final game. But there's some good competitors, and UConn was the best team by far. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think you're right on about the way we think about there's parity, and some of it is I'm doing a little bit too much up here. Some of it is we got too many coaches. It seemed like what I loved about the semifinal game with San Diego State is one indication of this is when Dutch was like, we didn't call a timeout, kid knew what to do. Go get us a bucket. And I think sometimes in the men's game, you don't see that natural flow. That's why I think we might about Norrell, like we appreciated it. It was something about the spontaneity. Like, hey, I believe in games like that, the teams that win are the coaches who players can play off script. You got to be able to play off script because at a certain point, teams are just good, and you got to figure out how to play off script. UConn could do that better than anybody. And they don't play the regular, we gonna screen roll, everybody standing around. They got a lot of movement, but they just seem to have a counter for everything. And them kids play so relaxed because they got this crazy preparation, and then they feel like they just go and do it. And that's something I want to see more. You see some of that in the women's game, you see some of that. Like, I'm gonna get this. And some of that you miss, and that's not just about stars. That's also a style of play. And are you micromanaging folks? And some of the teams I appreciate the most on the men's side is you can see those coaches like Larinaga and some of these other cats who I hear that what that's saying about you do the preparation or whatever it is, and then you let them play or trust them or whatever. Like you can see that in the moment, and there needs to be more of that on that side. Even with the star stuff. So, but yeah, the women got it. So we're gonna spend some time talking about the madness a little bit, and kind of open the floor up a little bit in the cipher. So we did all the niceties right now, but now we got to get into what happened in the game. And there's a lot that was going on. And the one thing is it's like the aftermath. I think everything about the game was great, and then there was the aftermath, right? To set the scene for the folks who may not have had a chance to see it, unless you've been under a rock or sleeping or whatever. A lot of attention around how the game ended. And Angel Reese making it known to Caitlin Clark that, but they had kind of let you know before the game they wasn't really having it. They wasn't here for that. That, Caitlin been doing some trash talking, some stuff she did in the semifinals throughout. And, they've probably been tracking it. And so Angel Reese wanted to kind of do the gestures. Some of the stuff she'd been doing, like the ring stuff she was doing in the SEC tournament stuff, I think, or whatever she was doing, or coming out one thing. I seen her do it before because maybe it was the Elite Eight where she drew the marker in the finger. So she had been doing kind of stuff. She was going to do it there. We have the internet broke, and all kinds of reactions happened to that. And we can get to that a little bit deeper here in a minute. But it really brought out a lot about the game that some of the stuff historically women have been fighting, especially our female athletes, around the way we try to think about how they should be competing, the niceties of sports versus being athletes who get after it and do what athletes do. And all that stuff came out after this. And so, I want to probably start a little more broad a little bit about the reaction to Angel Reese, whether or not some of the reactions were appropriate. There was definitely some that weren't appropriate, or what you saw happening here. I definitely got my opinions, but Darnell, I'll start with you.
As far as my reaction to the backlash,
The backlash, the context. Go where you want to go with it.
I mean, it's not surprising to me because at the end of the day, there's always these moments every now and again that we get to look in the mirror and we see that, just as far as we've come, we still have a long ways to go. There's still a lot of racial bias out here. I mean, it's not. It wouldn't surprise me at all because we see it all the time. As far as one group, one group of people does things. Okay, it's okay. It's great. You know what I'm saying? When Caitlin Clark, when she taunts, when the South Carolina girl, she can't really shoot. So Caitlin Clark's guarding her. She's like, "Oh, I'm not even worried about you." And everybody's like, "Yeah, that's competitive fire. That's swag." Yeah. Okay, a black girl does that to her. Oh, she has no class. You know, act like you've been there before. We've seen it all the time. So my main takeaway is I'm just not surprised. This is just expected.
What's interesting about when people talk about trash talk, so this is the problem when you have folks who don't understand hoop culture. Because what Caitlin did is worse. Like if you ever been in a pickup game, the worst thing you don't want to be the guy that's self-checked. Anybody
He's
who's
with
ever
us.
anybody who's ever played pickup ball would say that is the worst thing you could ever do on a basketball court is what she did when you understand hoop culture, right? And I haven't heard anybody even acknowledge that, right? Like there, you go to any park and ask them, other than getting dunked on, what could be one of the worst things? If self-checking in the top three, you at the wrong park, right? And so there's nothing worse when you got somebody standing off on you 10 feet like you self-check. Like that, and that one didn't even get the level of response that I felt like it should have done. So there's a clear difference between people understanding hoop culture. The one thing I say about Caitlin is she understands hoopers. She understands like you got to take it and you got to get it. Like she's the only one in the equation understanding. That's how it go. I do my trash talk. She did hers. She went up. I'm still down. Like she the one who understand it because she a hooper. But it's like people who don't understand that context is crazy. So then it gets racialized, right? There's elements that get pulled out of it that are crazy. So I don't want to take over too much, but let me bring you a Hammer, and then Sandra, I'll come to you because I know you've had a chance of seeing these elements even at younger stages. You've had a chance to see it in college environments. Like you've been you've seen this from a number of lenses as someone who's traveled through the game and seen it. So I know there's a perspective you have. But Hammer, what do you just the initial kind of aftermath reaction?
Doesn't surprise me at all. You know my background from Chicago, and not to go off tangent, but look at Chicago last night. Black against white, black won.
Yeah.
And it was down racial lines. So the one thing I love my late parents did with me, they didn't sugarcoat the race issue. They always talk about race every day, all the racial components. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that Caitlin Clark do the same things as Angel Reese, and she looks like the person who's showing swag and the moxie. And then when old girl from The Wire, Baltimore, Angel Reese show out,
She from
she
B-more.
ghetto, she hood. And she's disrespectful. She's disgraceful. She's a scumbag. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And even the one thing, one of our text chats, one of our brothers talked about Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann's white. He might be a white liberal, but he's white. So that's the main thing. White people, regardless of their ideology, you're going to look at this mostly as white men, not as a white liberal. So they look at the fact that we have a nation that was built on slavery, and how dare Angel Reese as a descendant of a slave come back at Caitlin Clark, who was her supreme master, especially back in the day. So that's how it is. And so all people talk about the audacity and stuff like that. No, and then Angel Reese has been clowning, talking about she's gonna go see the Obamas in Martha's Vineyard. That's fine. You can go see the Obamas and see Biden. And then the first lady was trying to help her man get reelection. She thought she could play both ways. Some Clintonism and play with have Iowa and LSU at the White House, be a centrist basically. And so she and it blew up in her face. So it just so I mean I knew what she was doing, what she did, but now obviously she went out to political aides because they would tell her like, no, you stay with LSU. You don't talk about Iowa. So yeah, that's the main thing, is that it's unfortunate, but it's a part of life. I'm glad they had this because I'm tired of even with I love Barack Obama. You know where I'm from, but we're not a post-racial world. We're not in this colorblind society. We still I have a racialized society, and we black people should be proud of ourselves as black people. Everyone should be proud of who they are, but again, there should be no supremacy as far as our races go, and people should be able to do when they're in simple situations. They should be able to do the same thing as others, regardless of skin color. But that's not the case, because when we do something as black folks, it gets totally put out of hand. It gets totally exaggerated. White folks do it; it's innocuous, and so that's just showing again our young people like Darnell, who Darnell gets it though. I mean, that's one thing we argue about is race. He gets it, but a lot of these kids out here still think because President Obama's out here that I'm human. No, you black in this country. You Latino. Don't kid yourself. Especially you get stopped in a police, you're gonna see difference between white and black, and that's all I gotta say.
See, I do have to wait for you, Hammer, to come because I do you go take us to another space. So the part about before I come to Sandra, the part that got me about Keith Oberlin, that's like the pie called the kettle white. I'm just gonna say it like that framework, because Oberlin is the most out of order person ever. Like when I saw that, I'm like, you have no ability to self reflect. Like you are the last person to respond to anyone's behavior in doing anything. And I'm like, that right there is privilege playing out. That right there is you not even being aware of your own positionality in this thing, where you are the most outrageous. You got fired from jobs, pushed out for jobs for your outrageousness. It's like, how are you now the person trying to police people's behavior? That part kills me, but that gets back to your point, Hammer, about where people think they can do and who they think they can regulate in space when they the last person to ever. He should have stopped pressing sand from the beginning. I'm like, we can go back and just track all your tweets and start with. We can get clips of you doing stuff that a grown person your age should never be saying. So I had to say that. I didn't need to say nothing because Shaq got on. After Shaq got him, I said I don't have to say nothing. I think Shaq, big brother, little brother Shaq got this one. He gonna go see some people. Sis, I know you can do now, sis, because you've seen this. I mean, and you've seen these teams. You've been in places. I've been in Iowa, Hawkeye Arena watching. I mean, there's some nuance to this, even with all this. We've seen play out in the game a little bit. But when you saw this, what was your reaction?
It took me back, because people don't realize like the age difference. I was the little sister running around with you guys, but I think you hit it on the nail. Like how we talk about hip hop culture. This is basketball culture, and I understand when you go back years, that you had the camp kids and you had the hooper, you had the park kids.
Yeah.
And so then, the camp kids, you're inside an air condition and it's the ring around the rosies, everybody get a chance. Make sure, Susie get in the game. Susie can't dribble, but it wasn't about whether we win. It was just like everybody gets a turn. You go to the park, you got neighborhoods versus neighborhoods. It might be an environment look like people about to fight, but we can walk away and respect one another and come back. Okay, next time we're gonna be over in y'all hood, and it was just a rotation of that. Because I've seen it from where we are at our the basketball court that's still by our neighborhood. That was the environment. It was a half court. It wasn't even full court.
Full court.
And a lot of strong athletes were built on there. So people don't realize like that culture and that where the trash talking comes and how it feeds and get that adrenaline and make people go harder. One of Chanel's AAU coach would say, he said, y'all too friendly. I need to take you to come and see us play pickup. He said, y'all might be scared and might think we're going to fight, but that's not what, it's just the culture. And he wanted to take some of the kids that had never played pickup or never, was the camp kids so they could see, to kind of help pull a little bit more out of them, because that trash talking to do, kind of pulls it out of you. Somebody telling you can't do nothing, but you feel that you a baller, you feel you a hooper. I'm about to go. Like Chanel was that type of kid. Like somebody told her that 3-point wasn't her shot. And look, she can stand a couple feet behind the line and still, hit it. Like her coach told the other day, you hitting that like a throw, So, but she was adamant, like, you're not gonna tell me that I can't hit this shot. But going back into it, so as we were revolving, she was playing fifth grade, so they were just able to play in middle school. The fourth grade team wasn't able to play in the middle school league, but the fifth grade wasn't. So we were always playing up, and white coach, predominantly white team, asked our coach, how did your fifth graders beat my sixth graders? And our team, of course, is predominantly, we dogs, we going to get it. There's probably play though, Um, it was just that but for her to even make, like, she felt it was okay to even say it like that.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about whether they were in fifth grade or sixth grade. They just had the talent. We put the pieces together, and just dealing with that from a young age on up, and people feeling entitled, and think that they, just because they've done certain things, that they should be in a certain position. You also have these you were mentioning something about the what did you call it? You have these teams that are like straight line drivers, don't have that swag.
Yeah.
So to say, can't make those adjustments.
Yeah.
And just like, you had certain teams that couldn't play against those SEC type of teams that go get it and kind of can make those adjustments. They really count on their fundamentals. And not to say, I mean, when you see the women's game, you're going to see fundamentals. You're going to see basketball. You're going to see the whole thing of basketball. When you're going to see all that extra dunking that's going to kind of save them from the basic fundamentals of basketball. And but it's always been going up, as far as them feeling like that entitled behavior. And it is what it is. I feel like, there was nothing wrong. They respected one another. They respected, she got 30 points, or, such and such did. They respected each other, but this is what they do. So people that don't understand the culture won't understand the actions.
And one of the points you just made, I thought was really good, because we had this conversation, and I know I'm going to try to pull Marcus on at some point, because I think this is even a deeper conversation, because in our early days, we would talk about women's basketball a lot. And one of the things that we noticed about the game is that, probably about 7-8 years ago, it was where the men's game was in the 70s, meaning there were certain teams that were dominating the narrative of the sport, and so they were the ones attracting and getting all the athletes, in a sense. So UConn and maybe it was Baylor, or what it is. It was a core group, and what we knew was going to happen, because I think we were having this conversation about with the talent that was coming through, that this was going to start spreading out. When that started happening, if you look at it in the men's game, think about the kinds of conversations that were happening in the 80s when the men's game, when the Big East came out. Think about the kinds of conversations that were happening when they described Bobby Knight's team and then they described John Thompson's team. Like, think about where those conversations were, right? In the way in which they use similar language that we're using now in this situation, that they were using back then, and how Bobby Knight would recruit, and what necessarily, like, all those elements that I was seeing. I just felt like I was back in that day and listening to, when I heard Don speaking, it was almost like I could hear Coach Thompson at the podium. I sat there when I heard what she was talking about. I was like, wow, I heard this before from Coach Thompson when Georgetown was doing it, right? And everybody was reacting to it. And Georgetown was like the most fundamentally sound team you would ever watch play, but how they described them weren't the ways they were described in Indiana, right? So, like, because of this visibility, it's going to be interesting how this narrative continues to go and how we start to describe this. And so, like, your points are really important. And as we see the chronology on men's hoop, and now we see it on women's hoop, and where it is around some of these conversations, you don't hear that as much in the men's game like we used to back in the 80s and 90s. Like, you don't get into that style of play conversation like it was back then. But we are now seeing it in the women's game in the same way we saw it when the Big East was coming on, when players were playing certain ways in the Midwest and the Big Ten. Gene Katie and them was playing. I would say Gene had a couple funk in this game, but when they're talking about Indiana and how they played and certain teams and how they talked it through, they weren't describing Georgetown and some of these teams in the same way. And I'm seeing that same thing play over on the women's side.
Well, I mean, they're not talking about how Gino made the comment about after they got beat by South Carolina that they don't basketball is it's not basketball anymore.
Yes.
But Gino's one of those teams that is robotic, and
Yep.
his hand got shown when they got beat by Mississippi State and they couldn't make the adjustments.
Yep.
The girls
Yep.
were robotic, because he puts a lot of time in taking out everything that they've learned and reprogramming them how he needs for them to be. And they couldn't make the adjustments. Nobody talked about, when the Missouri team missed, what they did to Don and, when they played Missouri. They're not on blowing up Twitter about that. But let Don or Coach Yo at Ole Miss or, because they're not even gonna say anything about too much about LSU because of Coach Mulkey. But had it been Nikki Fargas there, it would have been a different story.
So, yeah, we hitting it. So the first lady, you alluded to it, Hammer, you alluded to it. The first lady. So we had a going back. Y'all know if y'all saw that little go back in the chat because when Angel said she wasn't going to the White House, we had one of our folks in the chat was like, she didn't slow her roll or whatever, and I'm like, nah, the first lady needs to slow her roll. Like, you are trying to protect white fragility when you're supposed to be the first lady. And that was like, besides some of the crazy comments, that was the most disappointing because that wasn't your job to do. And you went out of your way to do it. And, I've spent my career on the other part of my hat, advising a lot of young people who are in this position that Angel Reese is, especially student leaders. Hammer knows this. And there are times where you got to let them go. There's times when you're mentoring through it. There's times, but I wasn't pushing back too much of this because I felt like the first lady inserted herself in a way that needed to be checked. And I'm hoping somebody did it. But that right there only just amplified all the points y'all have been making tonight. It was like, you didn't need to say nothing more other than then the first lady just sealed it for everybody. Because nobody goes to the White House but the winners. But you found yourself, what was it in you that said, on this occasion, we got to have Iowa? Like, what was it? What I would have almost appreciated if she would have said, I want to invite all the Final Four teams. I might have reacted differently. I might have said, no, I don't like that. But now I can see your point with Title IX. And because this was a great tournament, I want to get all four teams or do something with all four teams. But you singled out one team out of it and you said to do it. That one was one that just sealed it. Everybody else was talking all that junk, but she just gave you the tell. And it was some political stuff to it, but it was also some squirming in the seat, watching it, feeling sorry for someone. And I would say this about Caitlin Clark, who was the last one to feel sorry for it. Caitlin Clark was like, touche. All right, I'll be back next year. I got something for you next year. Next year, I'm going to hit you with the 50 biscuit. That's Caitlin Clark. She got some other entitlements, but she was probably like, okay, I'm going to see you. We're going to see you on the block again, and I'm probably going to I'm going for 50 on you next time. That's what it might take to get it. But that part, I don't know if we want to go too deep in it, but that part is something that just kind of sealed it and made it more obvious for me. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, "Wow, we have really taken this." I thought
Yeah,
Keith Rose was,
and
yeah,
it wasn't just that.
yeah,
It was all encompassing.
yes,
It was from the people watching the game. It was from the announcers. It's from Jill Biden talking about that. She wants both teams to go to the office. If you watched the game, the announcers were cheering for Iowa.
yes. I
Like
was surprised.
I'm like every time it's a foul. Oh, you can't call that. Caitlin Clark throw the ball out of bounds. You can't call a tech on that. I'm like, she threw the ball out of bounds. What do you mean she can't call a tech on that? Like, come on, like, man.
This was funny. Now, the funniest thing in here, I gotta say, that's what was said tonight because it gets back to your point, and I'm gonna get to this point. Bootsy said, "Larry Bird, come get your daughter." was the funniest response I've seen. But the thing about it, when he said it, if you break it down, he giving her the respect of the game, right? When he said, Larry Bird, come get done, because you bad, right? He's basically saying, you ain't got to leave, but you got to get out of here. But he acknowledges. But the thing about the Larry Bird thing is, nobody understood how much Larry Bird talked trash until after the fact. To all the brothers like Cornbread Maxwell and all them start telling the stories and realizing like Larry Bird is the one talking the most trash on it. And Caitlin Clark is that person. And so it's like how they like the announcers. If you had tape on Caitlin Clark throughout the entire game, and Sandra, I know you watched because we Indiana used to play Iowa, so we had a chance to watch. She complained on every play. She complained on every bad call. Like every bad call. She got something to say on everything. Now, I'm not knocking her because that's a competitive thing, but I can see how she could be annoying to some referees. She complained on everything. She has got something to say crazy on everything. And I'm not mad at it because great players do that. And so I could tell them referees would get a little bit annoyed. And then she went behind the back, like she didn't even look to toss it. She tossed it away like, go get it. And when they reacted and came back like she didn't say anything, that part, man, you hit it right on. Like I'm like,
He
I
said
cannot
It looks
believe this.
surprised. Looks surprised.
Oh,
Rebecca Lobo
I,
is like my least favorite.
and I'm gonna tell you, I think it almost felt like because did y'all ever see that documentary when what's the coach from Stanford was coaching the Olympic team and
Tara
Rebecca
Vanderveer.
Lobo, what was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Tara
Yeah,
Vanderveer. Yeah.
and Rebecca Lobo was like was getting hit hard, like she was getting right, and it felt like Rebecca she was going back to that. She's like going back to like I'm gonna relate to you because that's how I was being done on that Olympic. Like it was like she took it personal. Like I'm gonna protect you, Caitlin. I could not. Yeah, you hit it. You hit it
you know
right
what
on
it
the head.
reminded me of?
What?
Lomachenko. Have you ever watched Top Rank, ESPN Top Rank event and watch Lomachenko fight? The announcers do the exact same thing with Lomachenko. It's like I don't even. It's not like I'm trying to hate on Caitlin Clark because obviously I love her game. Same thing with Lomachenko.
Yes.
I'm a fan of Lomachenko. It's just the like the announcers. They almost want you. They almost want to drive you the other way. It's like everything. Like man, yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
So so we harped on that, and I love Caitlin coming out today, or at least she came out at the Sports Center. She's like, look, we don't need to go to White House. That's for the winners. I'm glad because some of that voice has to come from her. Like for it to get calibrated, she got to be the one to say this is ridiculous. And so her putting her voice out there, I think, is important. And then acknowledging, like, look, I like Angel Reese. Like some of that is when you talk about whether you believe in allyship or not, that's allyship in some form. It's saying, look, I'm gonna come out here and speak up. She can go a little bit farther, but she started to do that to start to calibrate some of this stuff. But I'm like moving forward. Look, it's clearly on the high. Like I already been in on the women's game. I've been doing the ladies first thing for a long time. Sis know that. I'm in our house. I could have just brought my mother on too, because I talked to her today. She broke the game down. She broke the game down. Had me almost drove off the street. Almost drove up too. Right? She started breaking down what was going on in the game. Like that's our household. So
and
we
she's
in.
serious.
She's serious about that. She
You
had a
play the
lot to
game of
say.
basketball, but you can't
She had
tell.
a lot to say. She had a lot to say. I said, I don't know if you funnier or Bootsy funnier, but you funny about this. So we into the women's game. We all in. So, but Hammer, when you think about moving forward, what do you see? Where you see this? Where you see this going? Where do you see this going? And what are you hoping to see next year? Because you got Becker coming back next year. I mean, it's gonna be
Oh, ESPN gonna make a lot of money. It's the
yeah.
bottom line because the women's game is higher than the men's game right now. Especially the controversy they had, the teams they got. The Kim Mulkey show with all of her crazy outfits. So Caitlin Clark, showing the heartland of America, representing the heartland of America. Angel Reese representing the alternative of America. So yeah,
Hey,
I'm great
Magic
with
Bird.
language. I'm great with language, aren't I? Alternative, I'd say. So yeah, so they got a great script next year. They're gonna get more buy-in as far as the earlier rounds. They're gonna make a lot of money next year. With Paige coming back, with Reese coming back, with Caitlin coming back. That's the thing about we talk about the men's game and the women's game. The continuity of the women's game makes it more exciting. You got these one and dones in the men's game. You got these, two and dones like Jordan Hawkins. One of the I heard that the kid Clayton might turn pro. The backup center, which blows me away.
He's
a problem.
Make a lot of money. He'll make a lot
He's
of
a
money.
problem.
Yeah, he's a problem. Yeah, he'll make a lot of money. So the main thing about it is that the continuity is going to help. It's going to be, I think the women's game is going to be more attractive than men's game because a lot of people are sorry the men's game with the too much parity and the fact that the so-called blue bloods are not in the equation. Because the blue bloods now, they used to have continuity. Now they got the one and dones because they're trying to play the game like Coach Cal did back in the day. So I think that's the thing. So the women's game is going to be exciting. They'll be able to build more momentum. They're going to be able to have more showcase as far as these games go and really get more of a mainstream audience, even in the regular season, and have these tournaments going. So it's a great product. And, obviously everyone knows who I'm going to be rooting for next year. But, they got bounced out early. But the bottom line is that, congratulations to Kim Mulkey, congratulations to Angel Reese, and let's play ball. That's the bottom line.
Darnell, we'll end with Sandra about what you think this is, what you think this means for the game and moving forward.
What both tournaments?
Women's
game. Oh, the star power. Everybody, not everybody's coming back, but the two big stars, they coming back. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. They should play game number 1 next season.
That's what I'm saying. That the preseason game,
it's got to be done
in the Garden. In the Garden, you should have Becker, Kate. You have Caitlin. You got Reese. They should all be in the Garden. They should all be in the Garden next year.
They should do it. They should do a little. They should do it almost like the Maui Invitational. They should do a little tournament like that.
Yes.
Man, that's
UConn gonna be in the Maui next year. UConn gonna be at Maui next year, baby. Oh, it's gonna be good. Hopefully, half their team leaving, but Sandra, as someone
they loading up though. They loading
up. Sandra,
the point guard. They got Darnell knows what I'm talking about. The point guard, the brother that's coming in, 5-star. You know what I'm talking about? 6'6" point guard. Boost, his name is, or their top recruit next year, 6'6" point guard, UConn.
I gotta look it up. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta look it up.
We have plenty of time to do that as we start to prep for the Maui Invitational. Sam, you've been going I love this because you've been on this journey with this game personally and watching it. Where do you hope to see it go?
I'm definitely for just real quick on the men's side, I think the one and dones kind of killed the momentum and excitement for them to build chemistry and build teams, because between the one and dones and the transfer portal to me is killing the excitement. For the men, the women, now the transfer portal is getting hot. So some teams are losing whole teams, but it also allows them to rebuild too. And so I think Arizona the women lost a majority of their team last year, but she rebuilt to still make it to the tournament, using them as an example. So I'm really looking forward to, Dallas. I did not, being a spectator that did not attend the tournament, I felt that Dallas did an awesome job with how everything ran. I just felt it in watching the games and watching everything that was going on. Because if we go back to a few years ago, remember when the women's weight room looked beyond people, like a goldfish couldn't lift weights in the in the gym. It was so pitiful. So just we have racial biases going on, but we also have gender biases going on. Yeah. And so I think women are starting to we always having to prove ourselves and twice as hard to show that we here. And I think, the going back to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8 games all the way up, showed that we here, that we deserve the Maui Invitation. We deserve, some highlighted tournaments to continue to showcase women's basketball and to continue to grow the pros, the next steps for these young ladies. And that's what I'm looking forward to, with these with the game, seeing it how it grows to the next level, because that's where we have a lot of great talent, and it just kind of gets cut off right there, and they go out here and they get shipped overseas. We don't have a G League, um, to hang out over, still play under the pro teams. The pro team is a G League. The way they treat them. You have teams are fighting for charter flights. They flying commercial flights still. We got college teams flying charter flights.
That's right.
So we know better. We got to do better. We got at least give them that. They're professionals. They've proven themselves. Okay, and probably can play just as beat half the guys that they playing. So I mean, and that they can go out here and play against. So we just gotta treat everybody right and let the game evolve. Let it keep evolving, because the women coming, we coming.
Well, this is what I think is going to happen. It's going to be a change. You notice the March Madness branding is only on the men's game. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's going to be on both.
Mm-hmm.
If it don't happen next year, it's going to happen the year after. It's going to be on both. Because the NCAA's main revenue is really college basketball. Now it can be college basketball, right? Because they don't have control over college football. They have some revenue, but that's an external setup. The real thing that drives it internally around things is, and so now they got this juggernaut of men and women's hoop that they can really market. So that's one thing I'm seeing. If it ain't happening now, there's already conversations around that in terms of how that branding is going to be laid out. But I think it's already there. You're going to see that. The other thing that I think is interesting is that you got as much movement. This is why I know, because I'm with Sandra and I've been with my niece. You got a lot of movement in the women's game. But the thing about it, like y'all said earlier, that the stars don't leave. They might move, but they still get marketed. So, Reese was at Maryland and then went to LSU, but go stay and still got, what, year or 2 years, right? So it's like they're containing that movement. They can remarket in regions. I think that's the part is going to be interesting moving forward. I'm excited to see it. As I said, I've been following the game, and a lot of it's because Sis right here is helping me understand, because she knows a lot of coaches, the whatever, and it's been a great way for us to kind of as a family pay attention. And my mother don't mess around. She be on that. She got opinions on this, so it all keeps in the game. So we already in. We've been in for a while, and so I'm happy now we got more people join it. We just got to keep the crazy like Oberlin out of it. So that's the piece. That's our role, right, y'all? All y'all hoopers, folks out there, we got to keep all these people, these other folks at bay. Don't let them mess it up. We got some great young people doing some great things. That's why I'm glad Shaq was, Shaq is a sheriff. He been deputized. He policing this. I'm okay with that, Shaq. Go do what you need to do. We just got to keep the crazy folks out of this stuff so that we can maintain the energy around this. Well, hey, this is our time to thank Sandra and congratulate you again on winning that belt as we close out. We're going to get the picture as we market for next year with you with the belt. The supply chain issue, so we're going to get you the belt. I'll let you track it when it get there down to Powder Springs so we can see it. So we'll start working on that, getting it going. But your contributions here, we got to bring you back on it. It's all in the family. I'm trying to bring her on to be the VP for finances, because she got an accounting and business background. So that we might have to do more of that to get you back on. But we're gonna drop the mic here, and so you can listen to our drop the mic segment. Is we trying to give out flowers to folks while they're here. That's what we're trying to do. We've been, 2023. The three of us are like, look, we're gonna turn on a new leaf in life, and on how we close out the show. We're gonna try and close out on a high note. And so I'll start with Hammer, and then I'll go to myself, and then we'll end with the youngin as we kind of drop the mic and kind of give out some flowers.
Yeah, I'd like to drop the mic to UConn basketball for their achievement. Before the season, UConn basketball was a long shots. And then in the course of the beginning of the season, they looked like a juggernaut, like they were at the end. But then they went through turmoil. A lot of people thought Marquette was better than them. But like March Madness comes, the talent came together, the brand came together. I remember growing up when UConn was a joke, a terrible job. And their best player was Cliff Robinson, who I know Darnell doesn't remember, I haven't heard of. So, but the way UConn's built their brand, you heard of them? Okay. As far as they built their brand with Coach Calhoun and Coach Ollie and now Hurley, you have 3 different coaches who won titles and over a generation. That's amazing. And so UConn's going to reload. They're going to bring some other people, and so I just want to thank them for again basketball excellence and having perseverance, because a lot of people counted UConn out in the middle part of the season and counted Marquette in. And look who cut down the nets. The UConn Huskies. Drop the mic.
I want to give mine because for me, as an educator, one of my big things you're talking to young folks about, and things I even have to fight on myself, is to not have a fixed mindset. You got to have a growth mindset, that you can be what you want to be, and you don't have to be defined. And Alexis Morris is that person. If you know the story, was at Baylor with Coach Mocha, got dismissed from the team, and then traveled around, and family was like, you need to go back to her when she went back to LSU. And there takes a lot for somebody to say, I got to go back and get some of what I think I really need. I got to go get that castor oil. I got to submit myself to something to try to really get myself where I need to go, where I need to dream. I need to get around the right folks. I always used to tell students, particularly students doing undergraduate research, when looking for faculty mentors, to look for the ones who tell you what you want to hear. Look for them folks who tell you what you need to hear. And when you can really kind of be that kind of reflective and do the kind of work she had to do to get to where she was on Sunday night, like you could see the emotion of their journey. And we have so many young people who are on that journey, whether they're athletes or not, who are questioning whether or not they can get there. And I just want to throw flowers to her, because it ain't easy. If you worked a lot with young folks, a lot of folks don't make them kind of decisions. Like, they will avoid those decisions. But for her to know that that's what she needed to do to get to the place she wanted to be, hey, I gotta say that and give her all the flowers in the world. So I'm tipping my hat to Alexis Morris, who is got the championship, but the road to the championship was probably sweeter than anything. All right, Darnell.
We talked a lot of college basketball today. I love college basketball, but the person I'm giving my flowers to, the person I'm tipping my hat off to, is the MVP. He sealed it yesterday. His name is Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, he had 52 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks. He was 20 for 25 from the field. Automatic from the free throw line, extended. This dude, he's a center that he can do anything he wants to. He can shoot threes, he can shoot mid-range, he can face up, he can post up. He got the footwork, he got handles, he can finish. And the only thing you could do is foul him. And if you do foul him, he's gonna go to the free throw line. He's gonna hit his free throws too. So there's nothing you could do with Joel Embiid. I gotta give my flowers to him. So since Shaq in 2000, Joel Embiid has scored the most points by a center since Shaq in 2000, and that just goes to show who the MVP is, Joel Embiid. I know it's a tight conversation, but he made a statement last night, and I think that wrapped it up. Joel Embiid.
Those are great ones. Now, Sandra, we didn't ask you to prepare one, but if you have one, you don't have to. You good?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, you got one? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just listening to what y'all do. But yeah, so I want to give the flowers out to LSU. Well, it's kind of a two-edged sword. I don't think people realize that the whole starting five, or just paid attention to, all had multiple journeys. Nobody just started at LSU. And so they had to go through whatever adversity that they had to experience. And, I always look at it, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And as I look at that, I think about Jeremiah 29:11 for these young ladies is that, I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans for hope in the future. And so, and also Alexis Morris, like she's my top flower because I don't think people realize that she played in the USA in 2016, 2017. And it was that bomb team that all of a sudden just got that bronze medal. But that's where I first saw her and she highlighted. I was like, she is so good. And then just see her go through her adversity and go through from team to team to team and seeing her with her head down and to see her prosper and to humble herself and to mature and to grow, she's my number one flower as well.
Woo, thank you. This was a great one. This is good to have you. Congratulations. This has been a great show, y'all. Y'all like therapy for me. Thank you, listeners. Please, you can check us out on all platforms. Please give us a 5. As my man Bomani Jones would say, if you give us anything less than 5, we're gonna call you a hater. But until we see you next time, we love y'all. We'll see you on the other side. This is One Mike, RSG. Take it easy.